today I'm going to show you how to set up and use an industrial sewing machine. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Luyasi. If you have any question, don't hesitate, hit me up in the comment section. Big shout out to Faith Oberten, she inspired this video. She just bought a new industrial machine and she doesn't know how to use it. So she hit me up in the comment section asking me to make a video on how to use an industrial machine. So today I'm going to show you how to properly set up and use an industrial sewing machine. Okay, so now this is a typical industrial sewing machine. Industrial machines can be categorized into a normal industrial machine like this and a direct drive machine. Now a direct drive industrial machine, it doesn't come with a heavy motor underneath. Now the good thing about industrial machines is no matter the manufacturer or no matter the brand, all the parts are usually very similar or the same. So whether it's an email, a genome, a Juki, a 2Lion, or any kind of manufacturer, I'll do a separate video and review some brands that you can buy. Now an industrial machine is very fast. In fact, when I bought my first industrial machine, I was already used to a manual machine. It took me 1 week before I got used to it. In fact, when I was working, I got so frustrated when I bought it because it was so fast I could not use it, that I actually went back to my manual machine and I was using my manual machine to sew for more than a week before I took up courage and I stepped in and started using my industrial machine. While I was using it, I mastered the speed of the industrial machine. So it's very fast. So the trick is to know how to control the speed. But once you get used to it, I bet you will not want to go back to your manual sewing machine. There's this kind of ease that you get when you use it. The first thing you need to do is to connect the plug of the industrial machine to a power source. So you connect it to a power source. The first place I'm going to talk about is the power. Now this is where you turn on and turn off the industrial sewing machine. As you can see, this green button is where you press to power on, and this red button is where you press to power off. So if I press this, as you can see, the sound is on, the industrial machine starts, and if I press this, it goes off. So this is where you power on and you power off the industrial sewing machine. Now this big thing here is the motor of the industrial machine. This is what powers the industrial machine. It's connected to a belt, and this belt actually turns the balance wheel of the industrial machine. This is the engine behind the industrial sewing machine. It's a very fast motor. It propels the machine and actually enables it to sew. Now this is a thread spool. This is basically where you insert the thread. A typical industrial sewing machine usually comes with like 2 thread spool. That's because most industrial machine you can actually place 2 threads on it simultaneously. Now this is the balance wheel of the industrial sewing machine. This is what you turn to actually move the needle up and down for you to sew, and this is actually powered by the motor that I just showed you. So there's a belt that connects this balance wheel to the motor. When you press the pedal of the industrial machine, it actually propels this. So there are instances where you have to manually turn this to actually make the machine move. So this is the balance wheel. So this is the stitch regulator. This is what you turn to actually set the width of the stitch that you're stitching. The standard stitch width for your normal sewing is 2.5. As you can see, it's on 2.5. But if you want it to be a little bit wider, you can take it to 3. If you want it to go very wide, depends on what you want to do, whether it's gather stitch, you can take it all the way to 5. If you want it to be a little bit tighter, you can bring it down to 2. So now this is the reverse stitch lever. This is what you use to actually make a reverse stitch. That's a back stitch. So let's say you're sewing and you want to reinforce the end of your sewing, you press this down. So when you press this down, it gives a back stitch. This is the tension disc. This is what you use to regulate the tension of the thread that passes through this area. When you pass the thread through this tension disc and you pull it, there's a little bit of pressure. Now this pressure is necessary for you to actually get a good stitch. It's advisable once you have this all set up not to actually mess up with this, because it can actually make your stitch go bad. So try not to touch this area too often. This is the presser foot. This is what actually presses down on the fabric. This is what stabilizes the fabric when you are sewing. Without this, the fabric freely moves around when you are sewing, and that would not be good. So this is what stabilizes it. You raise it up, you place your fabric underneath, then you bring it down and it stabilizes it. Now this is the presser foot lever. This is what you use to raise the presser foot up and down. As you can see, if I take it up, the presser foot goes up. If I take it down, it comes down. This is what you use to raise the presser foot up and down. Another way to raise the presser foot is through this black lever you're seeing here. It's meant for your leg. So when you want to raise the presser foot, you can place it here. Then you can, when you use your leg to pull it in, it makes the presser foot up and down. Now at the top here is the presser foot regulator. So if you want the presser foot to hold the fabric firmly when you're sewing, you can tighten it. If you want it to be loose, a little bit loose, you can loosen it, but it's good not to actually touch this too much. You can set it at normal. But if you're sewing very thick fabric, most times if the presser foot is set to be too tight, that's the pressure presses down too much on the fabric, you will find it difficult to sew. So sometimes if you're sewing a very thick fabric, it's good to loosen this up. So you loosen this area, loosen this up, so that it gives more room around for the fabric to move. Now this is the machine pedal. This is where you actually put your foot. When you press it down, it actually powers the machine to sew. Now the trick about this works just like a car. When you press it, it doesn't actually move the machine immediately. There's a level of pressure you put it. There's a certain level of pressure you have to put, and a certain level it gets to before it starts moving the machine. So the trick is for you to know that level, so that it can be easy for you to control the speed of the industrial machine. Now there are two parts of the needle. We'll have one part that looks as if it has a protruding back, as you can see, and we'll have the other part here that looks as if it's hollowed, as if it's carved in. Now this part that is carved in is part that will face this outer part of the industrial machine. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to insert it. So now you insert the needle into the machine, insert it around here, making sure like that place that looks as if it's hollowed, as if it's carved, is facing the outside. So when you insert the needle, let me set it up. When you insert the needle, is inserted, you tighten it. There's a screw here, you tighten the screw. Okay, so now we have our bobbin and our bobbin case, or shuttle and reeler as is popularly known in my country. So now you're going to, now this part is a little bit tricky because the way we insert the bobbin into the bobbin case is different from that of a manual machine. You take the bobbin, now you ensure that the thread is actually facing you. The thread is at the topmost part of the bobbin and is facing you like this. So you take your bobbin case. Now the bobbin case should be positioned this way. Then you insert the bobbin into the bobbin case this way. Then there's a hole along this side. You carry the thread. When you take the thread, you insert it in the hole. Then you insert it into this part. It comes out in a small hole here. So once it comes out, you pull. This is how to insert the bobbin into the bobbin case. Then you take the bobbin case, you insert it, you hold it like this. Just the way I'm positioned like this, you hold it like this, then you insert it into the machine this way. When you hear a click like this, that means it's well inserted. Okay, so now the first thing you need to do, you take your thread. Once you put the thread on the thread spool, you take your thread. There are two holes here, so you insert the thread in one of the holes. So when it comes out on the other part, you pull it. Now you take your thread. Once you take your thread, you insert it on this point, one of the holes. Once you insert it, you pull it. Once you pull it, so you now pass it through this tension disc, making sure that the thread goes into the two plates. So how you know that you inserted it correctly? When you pull it, you feel a little bit of pressure on it. So once there's pressure on it, you know it was well inserted. Then you take the thread, you pass it through this hook here, making sure it goes into the hook. Once it goes into the hook, you insert it into this hole here. Once you insert it into the hole, you pull it on this other side, then you take it down. Then once you take it down, you have to insert it into this other hole. Once you insert it into this other hook, you take it down, then you insert the thread into this needle hole. So when you insert it, you're going to turn your wheel, turn the wheel of the machine. When you turn it, it's going to go in and bring in the thread from the bobbin case. As you can see, it brought it out. Then I'm going to pull. I've inserted the thread into the needle, so you take your thread, you pull it behind just like you do on the manual machine. Then I'm going to take a piece of fabric. I've raised the foot up. I'm going to put the piece of fabric inside, then I'm going to sew. So now I'm about to sew. As you can see, it's moving. I'm getting my stitch. So the industrial machine can be very fast, and one of the challenge most people have that are new to using an industrial machine is the speed. It can be very fast. It can be very fast. It can be very extremely fast. As you can see, it can be very fast. So one of the challenges most beginners face when they get or purchase an industrial machine is the speed. Once you press it, sometimes they just press it a little and it goes like this, and they get scared. So the trick is to know how to control the speed. I can make it to be very slow. As you can see, it's going very slow. It's going very slow. I can make it very fast. So the trick is to know how to gauge it. You can see, sewing with it. It's giving me the stitches I want. As you can see, it's giving me a very good stitch. I'm using a white contrasting thread on it so that you can see it very clearly. So let me increase my speed a little. decide to change the width of the stitch for my stitch regulator, let me take it to like 3.5. If I take it to 3.5 and I sew, you notice it will give me a wider stitch width, like I explained earlier. As you can see, the stitches are wider. I can still decide to make it wider, and if I stitch, you see it will give me a very wide stitch. As you can see, the stitches are very wide. Stitches are very wide. Now, the trick about controlling the speed of an industrial machine is to ensure that you know the gauge. I explained that this foot, you have to actually know the level. As you can see, I'm pressing it, but it's not moving the machine. I'm pressing it down, it's not moving the machine. So the trick to control the speed is to know the level at which you put pressure on this pedal that it begins to move the motor. So if I press it down, I know when it gets to this point, it begins to slow. When it gets to this point, it begins to slow. But when I press it down, it doesn't start slowing. So once I know the level I need to press it for it to begin to move the machine, I will know how to actually control the speed of the machine. You see, I'm pressing it. It's going in, but it's not moving. So when it gets to this point now, it starts moving. A big shout out to Faith over 10. Please comment on the comment section, because now most of what I upload, I use 90% of the requests from my subscribers. Now we have a lot of views on our videos, but some of you are still not yet subscribed. So please do me a favor, go to the channel and check if you've subscribed. If you've not subscribed, click on the subscribe button, because that is only when you get to see when I upload new videos. I have a lot of content on ground, and my online classes are coming up very soon. I'll update you. See you in my next video.